the history of that period is so vexed, because again, people don't want to give the credit where the credit is due, and as you mentioned, they try to truncate history and make it seem that whatever came before, Greece or Rome or the Judeo-Christian period was strictly barbarism, and was irrelevant to the further growth of anybody. And it's amazing when you read, so many of the scholarly works, and they go back, to talk about metaphysics, and they never go any further than quotes the light of Asia. There's no light that comes out of Africa. Africa is the darkest continent, and yet still all of the light, really comes out of Africa. We talked about Alsar, Alset, and Heru, and clearly that story, has great significance in terms of Christianity.
Can I jump in there, sir?
Yeah, please. Yeah. You know that cough, but please go ahead.
According to Professor Maulana Karenga, there's a series of texts called the Declarations of Virtues. And let me read one of them. I gave bread to the hungry.
That's not Ma'at. That's not about Ma'at, is it?
It is. His book is about Ma'at, yeah.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
And it says, I gave bread to the hungry and clothes to the naked, and gave a passage in my own boat to those who could not cross. I was a father to the orphan, a husband to the widow, a protection from the wind to the shivering. I am the one who spake what was good and related what was good, not a scandal monger. I acquired my possessions in a just manner. Doesn't that sound like stuff coming out of Christianity? Doesn't that sound just like stuff in the New Testament? So as you rightly say, people want to give the impression that African thought was of no value, and you can pull up passages and just compare them. Compare this to what's in the New Testament. Greetings. My name is Robin Walker. I'm also known as the Black History Man. I am perhaps best known for my 2006 book, When We Ruled. Based on this book, I'm launching a new online history course aimed at you, the adults. You could be a parent, you could be a teacher, a mechanic, cleaner, professionals, care workers, security guards, taxi drivers, kitchen workers, entrepreneurs, tech heads, lawyers, all of you. We want people from all over the world to be empowered by our content. We want you to gain mastery over your history and heritage. And you can do this by subscribing to our course. Click on the link to get this powerful, life-changing material.
And again, the story of Alsar and Alset. Alsar was slain by his brother Seth, and of course, Seth represents Satan. And then his quote sister wife, and again, we have to be careful how we use these terms, because I think they're just principles. It's a male and female principle. It really has nothing to do with what we call sister or wife, or in that sense, because it's not incestuous at all. So his female, counterpart, Isis or Outset, goes around collecting his parts, and the only part she couldn't find was the penis, and she puts those parts together and has a relationship with those parts, and of course she was a virgin, and of course here's an immaculate conception, because there's no penis. It's an asexual relationship. And she becomes impregnated again by the Holy Spirit, if you will, from Alsar, and gives birth to Heru or Horus, later on. And then she grows up, Horus or Heru, and he fights Seth, defeats Seth, and then resurrects his father. He goes down to the inner world and resurrects his father. So here's the resurrection. The resurrection story, because the father had been mummified and so on and so forth. And he goes down to the underworld, or the inner world, shall we say, resurrects his father. And of course, who is there? They're the two ladies, Martha and Mary. They're the two ladies, Auset and Nephthys. So it's a total, similar story. And he's the Charis, he's the anointed one who is able to do this. And that's what Christ means, the anointed one. And you go further, and this is in Finch's thing, and you know the story. You may know it better than I do. In Ammon's temple in Luxor, more than 1,500 years before the birth of Jesus, you have this whole scenario, which is both the nativity, which we have the gospel nativity, and the first scene where Tehuti is the messenger, coming from God and telling the lady Metemua that she's going to have a baby. And then there's Neph, which is the spirit, the breath, impregnating her, if you will. So you have that whole thing, the Annunciation, and you have her conceiving, and then the third one is Horus sitting in her lap, which is then the birth, and then you have the adoration of the child with the three wise men, if you will, coming from different parts to adore the child. So here you have all of this on the walls of temple in Luxor, and this is supposed to be, now historically correct, 2,000 years ago. I mean, come on, this was 1,700 years before the birth of Christ. And here it is on the walls and it's an allegory to talk about the divine king, because the Egyptian kings were divine kings. And of course, it also means all of us are divine kings. So, which is the essence of Christianity. And this is where the whole thing has been distorted, as it was distorted in terms of its going to the Far East when it became contaminated with the Vedic system, and we see it becoming contaminated with the Judeo-Christian interpretation of the African spirituality, which is about each and every one of us who has this journey to make, to become also, to resurrect our true self. That is the true journey of man, and that's what Heru means. Heru means hero. It means the one who has made that journey and really resurrected himself, so that he's a full human being, and then obedient to the principles of Ma'at, which you just talked about. And Karinga's done a great job in terms of bringing that forward, the whole Mattian concept, because that's the basis of the ethics, etc., and values of the Egyptian system.
Yeah, in total agreement, sir. And what it is so many more of not just our scholars and thinkers, but even our theologians, be you Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Rasta, we should be mining this data to pull out ethical value that modern people can use today, because otherwise it just goes to the waste.
Yeah.
And the scholars will be able to pull out use, but the ordinary people can't. And there is too much there that we cannot really ignore. As a thank you for visiting our website, we are giving you a free copy of our exclusive 100 Black History Facts, which is in fact a taster of our course content. Make sure you leave your email address and we will send it right to you. We hope it inspires you to dig deeper into your history and heritage.
I think I want us to do next time is to trace this African spirituality, if you will, across the continent in terms of its manifestation, let's say in Congo, in the Bantu, in the Yoruba, in the Ashanti, in the Dogon. Because I believe it's the same spirituality with certain cultural, historical differences, which you can trace the principles as life guiding principles, like the Ubuntu concept and so on. I mean, that goes straight back to Ma'at, and as you say, it needs to be mined, it needs to be explicated as much as we can, because that's what we really have to hold on to, because I think that's what we have to offer as African people, the ability to know ourselves, to know each other, and to be able to live in communion with each other and with the environment, because what's happening is now the full destructive force of Western materialism and intellectualism that was aimed at the planet, and that includes us, both animals, plants, and the physical planet itself, in a destructive sense, simply to satisfy, a hedonistic way of life. So hopefully we'll get to this next time.
Absolutely, sir.
Thanks so much.
No, it's a pleasure, sir.
Well, you bring so much to the table, Robin. It's always a pleasure.